This lecture is Acquisition of Phonetics and Phonology. Now we're getting into some speech-language issues. You're probably going to hear this in other classes also, but this is kind of a good overview of the acquisition. Infant speech perception. This is really interesting and fun research that has been going on for a while. How do we study how kids or newborns hear sounds? We do it up to 4 months with sucking, and they actually change their sucking patterns depending on the sounds that they hear and whether they hear mother's voice or other voices. It's really interesting. We look at visual fixation, 2+ months, or head turn preferences, 4+ months. So infant speech perception, the key findings are that infants can discriminate contrasts up to 6 months old. Ambient language does not matter. So if a baby is in an English home, they can understand all the phonemes of Chinese, Thai, Arabic, any of those languages. Contrasts include place of articulation, manner of articulation, voicing, and vowel height. They can discriminate between all those sounds. After 6 months old, some researchers say after 8 months old, infants begin to lose their discrimination of sounds that are not the ambient language. So past 6 to 8 months, they lose that ability to hear the sound differences between languages that are not their own. Infants do prefer to listen to the ambient language, though, and they do pick up on the prosody of that language. Infant-directed speech, you can call it motherese or baby talk. We use it, other countries use it, but some countries don't. The acoustic characteristics include a higher pitch, more pitch variation, a slower rate of speech, and extra longer vowel length. When you talk to a baby and, "Oh, aren't you so cute?" and you vary that, that is the motherese, and people have actually studied that. Infant-directed speech is essential. Is it essential for kids to learn language? No, it's not. It's fun, it's engaging. The prosody inflections really capture their attention, but it is not mandatory for them to use, for them to hear that to pick up language. Perception versus production. Children are able to discriminate contrasts between sounds, like voice onset time, voicing, long before they're able to produce those contrasts in speech. Children frequently think they're producing the word the same as the target, but they might not be actually producing it. So what's this? Bup. Could be a cup. What's a bup? No, a bup. So they think they're saying it, but they really aren't actually saying the exact sound. And you can hear that in kids. They might say boff or bottle or have a representation for an object. That is, they use it consistently until they start learning the correct speech forms. So why do children sound so different? Their oral tracts are very different than ours. And in the handout, it actually has pictures of adult voice tract and what a child's looks like. And you can see there's much more pitch down, and their soft palate goes way down into their throat, and their tongue isn't as big or long. So this is the hard palate. So that's what kids' mouths look like. And then as they grow, that changes. So here's another, this is actually a slice of a MRI. This is an adult. This is kind of through the center of the cut. And then this is what a child's looks like. So you can actually see the differences in the adult vocal tract versus a child's vocal tract. And this is a female that's 7 months old, and this is an adult female. Early stages of production, birth on. There are reflexive sounds like crying, vegetative sounds, coos, oohs, ahs, all those kinds of vocalizations. At 2 months, there's cooing, grunts and sighs moving into back vocalic sounds. So they're actually starting to get some differences in vowel sounds between 2 to 4 months. There are some palatal and some velar sounds. 4 to 7 months, there's a lot of vocal play. Squeals, growls. That's when kids squeal really loud to figure out how loud they can get. It's really fun for them to play around with it. They have pitch and loudness manipulation and a lot of vowel sounds. Their repertoire of vowel sounds definitely increases. Some sounds may be like fricatives or nasals, but they're not true productions of those. Early stages of production, 7+ months, is babbling. Production more like CV or consonant vowel or canonical sounds, maybe single syllables, reduplicated, or variegated. So those could be ma, mama, da, ba, ba, and you tend to hear a lot of bilabials initially when they first develop their speech. Tends to be language specific, their babbling. Sounds like the ambient language that they're hearing. It does follow the prosody. If you hear little kids, they're talking and it sounds like they're giving you a lot of information, but you can't understand a word they're saying. That's called jargon. Most sounds are produced are in the ambient language. 10+ months, that's when they're starting to get words. Still working on learning to produce most of the sounds, but they have proto words, that wa for water. It's not the true word, but it is a representation of that. That's when that comes in. Learning phonological contrast, the production of vowels. The low vowels and central vowels are usually produced first. And then the production of consonants, it goes labials, coronals to velars. But this varies a lot among children. It's most typical to see bilabials come in first. And then it can vary a lot for different children. Glides and stops, oral and nasals before fricatives, affricates, and liquids. That comes next. Most of the time, children follow the phonotactics of the ambient language. Here is a chart of acquisition of consonants in English. And this kind of gives the age range of when most kids get those sounds. So if you notice, th and th and f and zh, those are later developing sounds. S can come in later. R and L come in later. So these are the ranges of when those sounds come in. So if we have a child that is still having trouble with p and b by about 2.5, actually probably more 2, we start working on those sounds. Phonological idioms. These are the words that children produce as a whole unit that contain patterns that the child is not able to produce in other words at the same stage. Later regress to become consistent with the child's current phonological system. So they might actually be able to produce something and then they kind of filter it back into their system. Correct production of pretty at 10 months when all other consonant clusters were reduced. Pity, biddy. So initially it might have been pity and then it got reduced to biddy for the BR. Production of elephant at 20 months when a child reduces the words to one syllable and has no fricatives. So elephant might be fin. And at 25 months it might be pin because it's a little bit closer to the actual production.